All right, we're back 8:12 with a special Summer of Love edition of today's 5 Things. With wedding season kicking off, we're turning to the pros this morning when it comes to planning for that big day, etiquette, and of course, relationships. These experts are here to share the things they would never do when it comes to weddings based on their expertise. So first up, we have Eyal Tesler, owner of Tesler Events here in New York City. He has been in the wedding planning industry for 30 years. Eyal, good morning. Good to see you. Happy June. You have 5 tips for us. This first one caught my eye. Never overestimate your guest list. I would think, well, play it safe.
Well, when you plan your wedding, you want to know how many people you're going to have. Most of the venues that you're going to go to will hold you for the minimum guarantee. You don't want to end up paying for guests that are not coming. So always have a number, make sure that you're comfortable, get a little bit less, because once you get the RSVPs, you'll have less people.
So better to say, to kind of underestimate the number, because they'll always let you add more, but once you've committed to that high number, you can't go under.
You're not going to get it back.
Got it. Never build your wedding budget as you go.
That's a very big one. You should not go and start adding and adding and adding. You should have a budget in mind. Look at it like as a pie and slice it as you go.
Oh, much smarter. Okay, never go rogue with the wedding menu. Really don't get creative?
Well, you can get creative. You can push the envelope a little bit, but you're still trying to entertain 100 to 300 people, and you want to make sure that you serve the right thing. While sushi is becoming more mainstream, you probably don't want to serve a beef tartare to 100 people.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, never pick big flower arrangements for tables. They're so pretty, Eyal. Why not?
They are beautiful, but you also want to make sure that your guests are able to talk to each other, to see each other, to converse. There are places for other big flower arrangement in your venue, not in your guest space.
Okay, so flowers on the table are okay, but make them shorties so you can look across and talk to each other.
Flowers, candles, but just you're able to see each other.
Finally, never dismiss a plan B. What do you mean by that?
Well, Mama Nature does her own thing.
Yes.
So even though you have this beautiful idea of your ceremony outdoors, it can rain, it can be hot, it can be cold, and you're always have to have the other plan, what we call the plan B, where you can have as beautiful of a wedding indoors and still have a beautiful time.
Okay, some clients, some brides, they have an idea in their mind and they don't want to change it, but you got to have a backup plan.
Absolutely.
All right, Eyal, thank you so much. Hoda, to you.
Hey, honey, I'm here with Daniel Post, sending the great-great-grandson of Emily Post, so he knows his stuff, and the co-president of the Emily Post Etiquette Institute. He's got 5 tips on what he would never do as a wedding guest. And Dan, these are all really important ones. You say you should never, ever bring your children to a wedding if they have not been invited.
Well, the key there is if they haven't been invited. I know my kids are perfect and everyone would want them with me all the time, but if they haven't been explicitly invited, you don't want to bring your children.
Can you ask and say, look, I don't think I can get a sitter. Do you mind if I bring them? Or is that also a no-no?
You can ask if you're confused if they're invited, but you don't ask for permission to bring them.
Okay, this is a big one. Do not post your videos or pictures on social media before the bride or bridegroom has a chance, if asked.
Absolutely. Some people want a social wedding. Good indications that they do. They've got a hashtag or a place to share your photos. But other people really want to keep that moment private or more intimate. So you want to follow the etiquettes, the little signs that you see. If there's a sign that says no cell phones or leave your cell phone behind, you want to observe
that. And if there's no indication of yes or no, is it okay to post, do you think?
I would ask first.
Ask first,
But you can watch the crowd and watch the bride and groom for cues.
This is a big one. Sometimes single girls are invited to a wedding and they're dating someone and they don't get a +1 on the invite, and they say, like, but I have this really cool boyfriend who I'd like to bring to this wedding, and they get upset about that.
As understandable as that is, the good advice is to never be bothered or offended by anything that happens with an invitation that's been sent to you. A lot of hard decisions go into making those guest lists, and it's hard to understand every one of those.
And often it's financial. It's like, I cannot have additional guests. I'm tapped out. All right. Never announce big news that you might be having at someone else's wedding.
Absolutely not.
I'm engaged.
As tempting as it is, all your friends and family are there. Or worse yet, a proposal at a wedding.
Oh.
Keep the focus on the couple.
On the bride. Okay. And the last one, you say never ever forget to send a gift. Is it true about the 1 year? You have a year to send it?
You do have a little bit of time.
Yeah.
Try not to push all of those limits to the maximum, even if you're not invited. I say it's a get to, not a have to. You get to send a gift. It's a way you could participate in some way, even if you can't make it in person.
Okay. All good things. Thank you, Dan. Thank you so much. Craig, over to you.
All right, Hoda, thank you. I'm here with relationship therapist Dr. R.G. Allen Wilson, 25 years of experience behind her. She's also the author of Courageous Conversations Connect. And we're going to focus on the 5 things that she would never do before getting married. And this first one, very important. Don't you get hitched if you haven't talked about money.
Absolutely, Craig. Money is key, right? And people have a hard time talking about it because they feel like it's nosy or it's impolite.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is we have different value systems for money. So we got to figure out what those similarities are, those differences. And fun fact, leading cause of divorce.
Yeah.
So if you don't talk about money on the front end, you're going to have to deal with the costs on the back end.
You also contend that you should never get married before you talk about the idea of having children.
Yeah, I mean, that's really key because a lot of times we think people will change their minds and then, you know, after the marriage and then they don't. And so you've got to really be clear. Ask the question up front.
Okay.
And then have the conversation about whether or not you want to table that till a little bit later.
Okay.
And also a good tip to that is that parenting styles.
Yes.
Another leading cause of having friction in a marriage. So you want to talk about those parenting styles and then revisit it down the line.
As someone who's been married for just over a decade now, I'm not sure how realistic this third one is, but you maintain that you should never go to bed angry.
Yeah, listen, tomorrow's not promised to any of us.
Yeah.
Do not go to bed angry. That doesn't mean that you don't feel that emotion, but try to bracket that so that you can focus on the cuddle time or the conversation about the day. You can do the 24 to 48 hour follow-up with whatever the issue is. But don't go to bed angry. It's not good.
Explain this fourth one to us here. Never let third parties weigh in.
Yeah. The biggest voice in your head when you're married, after your marriage, should be your partner. And you need to be able to have a healthy conversation. We call it a courageous conversation. Good, bad, or indifferent, other people can't be weighing in on that. And if the one person does weigh on it, it has to be a confidant that wants your relationship to win.
And your last never is never ignore the love tank. What's the love tank?
We got to fill up the love tank, right? The 5 love languages are acts of service, quality time, gift giving, words of affirmation, and physical touch. So fill up those love tanks, right? Because if you don't, then what you're going to have is a lot of deficit. And a fun fact and a quick tip, write down your love languages and then give it to your partner as a good cheat sheet.
All right,
right?
Dr. RG,
keep it going.
I always value your opinion because your husband comes in, he's always smiling.
Yeah, our love tank is filled
always
up.
Full. Always full. Thank you, and thanks to all of our experts.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 Pacific on our streaming channel, Today All Day. To watch, head to today.com/allday or click the link right here.